Alright, what's up everybody? On today's new episode, what we're going to be talking about today is everything that you need to know about a home. So what we're going to focus on today is, let's take a look at this. A couple things. When it comes to utilities, right here, this actually just shows you the main water line that runs into the house. Then also, what you're going to see is that right down here, you have these little lines right here. This is to indicate where the property lines are going to be for your property. So you're going to have one here and one over here down at the end. So right here, as you can see, this is where your cable for your TV, your fiber optics is going to be right down here. And again, your other property line will start right here and it runs all the way down here. You also do have a marker right here indicating where the gas line is going to be. Also, when it comes to a brand new home, you're going to notice like the sidewalks are a little bit tore up, but don't worry about that. What happens is with the builder, there's actually a bond that's actually created. Once this community is completely done, what's going to happen is the county is going to come back out here and resurface the streets and also the walkways. Now, on this driveway right here, as you can see, we have some nice stone, right? However, the stones are dirty here, so just make sure, like when you close out on this deal, you have the superintendent comes back out here and actually spray the pavers. And also, when it comes to the pavers, you got to understand that you should probably also get the pavers sealed too as well. That's going to be like one of the most important things. Now let's come over here on the side of the home. So right here, what we have is a pressure relief valve, and basically what this is for your sprinkler systems and stuff like that. And the reason why we have this is because you want to make sure that you let all the air out and you don't want no back pressure to go back into the lines. So that's the reason why you need this. So this pressure relief valve that you see right here on this water spigot, the reason why we have this is for a couple things. Number one, it's to send out all the pressure through the line when you are actually using this. So basically, if you have air in your lines, it just pushes it out. And for number two, what it does is it stops all the water to go back inside. So let's just say you are washing your car, right? And you have the hose inside the bucket. You don't want to decontaminate your water line. You don't want the soapy water to get sucked back into your line and you're drinking this water. So that's the reason why they actually have this. So right here is actually your gas meter. As you can see with the gas meter right here, you have this valve right here. If it is running the same direction as the line, this gas line right here, this tells you that the gas is on. Also, what happens is every single month, Southwest Gas is going to come by. They'll drive by with the meter and they'll just check your meter, and that's how they actually read your meter. All right, so let's talk about stucco. A couple things with stucco here. So the stucco here, this is a common design. This is just a skip trawl style concrete stucco. Now, when you're buying a brand new home, you may have hairline fractures to it. That's actually okay, because what happens is it gets hot, it gets cold, the home actually expands and also contract. So it's okay. However, you can always seal it and repaint it. Now, keep in mind, depending on the position of the sun, with the sun exposure, if you're getting a lot of sun on this side and you have hairline cracks, 1 year later you come and you decide that you want to go ahead and seal up those cracks and repaint it, the color that you have, right, may be faded. So you're going to have to paint the whole side of the home. So just keep that in mind. So if you just bought a brand new home, you see hairline cracks, you probably want to get that fixed. A lot of builders will not fix it right away. And the reason why builders won't fix it, because they say if it's less than a half a nickel, they won't fix it. It's actually common, which is true. But who wants to buy a brand new home already with cracks? So if you can get the superintendent to actually fix it and paint it, I would do it right away, okay? Also, underneath the stucco here, you have a stucco creed, and I believe that's what you call it. So there's actually little holes here. And the reason why they have a stucco creed here with these little holes, you want to make sure the holes, right, are not sealed. And the reason why this is important is because this stucco right here is made to absorb water to go right through it and drain down to the bottom. So like all this vegetation or rocks, you want to make sure you have about a 1-inch clearance from the stucco-cred and also the foundation of the home. These are actually the breaker switches for every single breaker inside your home. So as you can see right now, it's actually completely labeled, which is great. However, this actually tends to fade. So I would highly recommend that you actually take a picture of all this, so that way you know exactly where your breakers are. Now, if something ends up tripping, then you're gonna come out here and you're gonna reset your breaker. Now, right here, you will actually see that there's some labels where it says sewage camera done and the time and the date. The reason why this is important and the reason why they do this is because they want to pressurize the home, and what they're going to do is before they close, they're going to send a camera guy, or they're going to send a plumber out here that has a camera system that they can send down the sewage line to make sure nothing is clogged. So right above me, what you see right here is an exhaust for a tankless water heater. So this is where the exhaust from the gas is going to be coming out. So right here, this is a PVC valve right here that's actually connected to the tankless water heater. So the reason why we have this is every once a month you probably want to flush out your tankless water heater, and all the water would be coming out right through that PVC pipe. Now these windows right here, these are actually Alpine windows. Alpine windows are common windows that all builders will use as far as pricing. Okay, right here we actually have these little weep holes. Now keep in mind, with these weep holes, what you need to do is to make sure that these are actually cleared, because what happens is water will go in between the frame and it should be draining out. If not, you'll build up that condensation, then you'll start to have water go inside the window frame and you will also have it to go inside your house, and you don't want that. So you can cause a lot of damage. So you just want to make sure that is completely done. Okay. Right here, as you can see between the stucco and the frame, typically all this stuff will be caulked, and you want to make sure that this is caulked at all times. So right here, this is actually the condenser, which is the air conditioning unit, and this is a part of the air conditioning unit. So a couple things that you need just to be aware of when it comes to the air conditioning unit, the condenser. Typically this hose right here, this is a 24 volt right here. This is what actually controls the condenser from the thermostat. Typically these need to be filled up because you don't want any bugs or anything like that to crawl up in here. And this one is actually filled. Okay, here's your disconnect for the condenser. So you can literally turn this off from right here, so that way your air conditioning guy can actually work on this condenser. So you do have the lines here, which is you also have a filter. This is something that I would actually take a look at to make sure that you have, and this is actually good to have. Now when it comes to your air conditioning unit, your condenser, right, you want to check to see exactly if you have a 14 SEER, 15 SEER, or 16 SEER. The higher the SEER is, the better it is for you as far as the rating and the energy efficient. And you should be able to check and be able to look at it right here on this manual right here. Okay. Now let's talk about drain swell. Drain swell is basically where you're pushing water away from your home and also away from the walls. So right here, this is actually your drain swell. And you want to make sure that this is all clear, so that way water can just rush away from the foundation of your home and also from the backyard. Right here is actually called your demarc. So basically your demarc runs a line all the way down to the city. So if you have fiber optics, basically fiber optics could literally run the cable into here, and this is how you're going to get your connection with all your cable and all your TV and stuff is going to be right here. Now let's talk about the garage floor. If you are planning on epoxying your garage floor, once you close on the transaction, you want to epoxy the floors right away. The reason why you want to do that is because you don't want any grease or grime that's being stuck to the concrete floor, because of the concrete is so porous, it's going to be very hard to get out. So as soon as you close, you want to get the epoxy right away. Also, when you do the epoxy, make sure they have the epoxy all the way up to the top too as well of this curb. That's very important. Okay. Another thing that I've realized when it comes to epoxying the floor, depending on the type of color that you pick and choose from. Okay. Now, as you can see on the outside of this home, the exterior has that brown neutral tone. All right. This garage door will come all the way down and it will set right about here. So you have about a 2-inch lip. So basically, if you epoxied your floors yellow, you close this down, you're gonna have a yellow strip, so that's not gonna look that great. So you want something that kind of matches the tone of your home and also the driveway too as well. So for something like this, I'd probably do more of a brown. When it comes to the walls inside the garage, some builders will do the texture, some won't. For me, I would say just do the texture. It's worth the money well spent. If not, it just comes just plain and standard. You might as well have it textured because it's actually a part of your home. Now right here, this is actually a 220 amp. So if you have a Tesla, you want to hook up a Tesla, you do have that option, but you need to make sure you know exactly which side of the wall you're going to hook that up at. So here is your tankless water heater. As you can see, it has been identified. Focus Plumbing was the one that actually installed this tankless water heater. Now, do you remember the PVC pipe on the outside of the home, right? So, like I said, you always want to come here and flush it, and this is how you're going to flush it, so that way you can drain out all that old water, okay? So that's how you do it, but I highly recommend that you contact your plumber and also get your manual too as well. Here is actually your gas line for your tankless water heater. Rudy, right here, let's show them this right here. Right off to the side here, right, this is a temperature that's set up for 120. It can't go any higher than that. However, they do make a chip that you can actually reconfigure this to make it a higher. I think you could take it up to like 140 if you wanted to, but I don't know why you would do that. It wouldn't make any sense. Here is a soft water loop. A lot of builders will sell you a soft water loop. Typically this will run about $350 to $450, just depending on which builder. So you have a line going in and coming out, and this is just for your wastewater, for your soft water, okay? Also, what you'll notice is that when it comes to outlets, about every 12 feet on the wall, you'll have an outlet. Right here is your irrigation system, which is Rainbird. It is common that a lot of new home builders will use this system. It's very simple to use. The manual is going to be with it. One thing that you should always check is, does it have a Wi-Fi connection that actually comes with it? Because now you can actually control this with your phone. Also, Nevada, it's all about saving water. You should be receiving one of this. Every zip code will have its own, right, water restriction. So looks like during the springtime, you can only water 3 times a day. On this one, it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but you can't do on Sunday. So they actually rotate the days, but again, just make sure to check with your water district. Right above here, this is our transformer to actually control our doorbell and also our coach lights, okay? Right here on the coach light here, as you can see, on this one right here, we actually have caulking, and that's a good thing. Okay, you just need to make sure that there's a lot of caulking around here, because then you're going to get a lot of bugs that can actually crawl through here. Okay, let's talk about the garage door opener. So when it comes to the garage door openers, a lot of builders will sell you a garage door opener, right? But you got to pay for it, obviously. This one right here is not like your top notch. If you're going to get a garage door opener, make sure to get one that actually has a MyQ app. And basically with the MyQ app, you're allowed, well, it gives you the option to control it from your cell phone. That's right, okay? Right here, we have our main water line, okay? So for the main water line, the water is actually coming in this way, okay? Now what's great about this home is you do have a 1-inch copper piping that's going to run to your irrigation system. What's great about this is if you turn this off, the water's shut off from here to the house. But the reason why you would do this is because if you went on vacation, you can still leave the irrigation water so that way you won't kill your plants. So this is a great feature and upgrade to have on this new home build. Now let's talk about this pressure valve here. So you have an option where you can actually increase your water to the pressure to your home, right? However, it is common, it's anywhere from 65 PSI to 75 PSI. Anything above that could be a little bit dangerous, but please make sure to contact your plumber. So let's talk about floorings here. So as you can see, we have the luxury laminate floorings on here, which is really nice. Now, when it comes to this type of flooring, there are certain chemicals that you should be using to clean this. What I highly recommend that you do is actually contact the builder's manufacturer for this flooring and find out exactly what you should be using to clean the floorings on here, okay? Now, baseboards here. As you can see with the baseboards, one of the things that you should be doing with a brand new home is really just taking a look and down the line and see if the baseboards are actually straight, okay? Also, that includes the rocker switch. Also, what we have right here, this is what we actually call a Smurf tube. And what a Smurf tube does, and it allows you to do, is it allows you to connect all your components as far as your TV, your direct TV, your VCR, and you're able to run your cable through here, this Smurf tube, which allows you to hang your flat screen TV. Now, let's talk about some windows here. Now, as we lift up the windows here, right, there's actually a way to take out your window screen, and this is something that you need to be aware of. Right here, we have these tabs. You don't want to rip off these tabs, right? So there's a certain way that you pull up one side, and you pull up on the other side to take off your window screen, just like that, okay? Now, these windows here, you can actually take off these windows, okay? And there's a way to take it off, and I'm going to kind of show you briefly how to take this off. See how your window's loose? And your window comes out like this. You see this? How I'm able to take out the window? So now, you'll be able to take out the window, you'll be able to clean the window. So now, I'm going to take this, slide this back. It's in the track. You slide it back down. Boom. Clips, clips, done. Just like that. Now let's talk about Traverse LED lights, and that's what these lights are right here. Unfortunately, if these bulbs go out, you can't replace the bulbs. You got to take out the whole unit. But these are actually really good lights. Now when it comes to lights, lighting is very important when you are customizing your home. Also the color, right, of the light bulb, right, gives you the tone and the mood of your home. I personally like the daylight color, so it's all case by case basis. So just keep that in mind. If we take a look at this quartz countertop right here, this is a high level quartz countertops. Can the quartz countertops actually be stained? Yes. If you spilt wine on this thing and you let the wine sit, it will actually stain the quartz countertops. They actually do make a seal. Now, if you guys want the seal for the granite and the quartz countertops, I will have that in the link in the description below. Now, what's great about the quartz is this, is if you did stain it, you can actually have a company to come out here and to repair the quartz. And it's a lot easier to repair quartz versus granite. So right here, this is technically where your refrigerator would go. This is probably a 36 inch on the refrigerator, cubic inch, I'm sorry, okay? Now right down here, we have our supply line for our refrigerator, for our ice maker. Now, right now, it's not purified. Now you can actually connect purified water to it if you installed an RO system, which you would install an RO system inside or underneath your cabinet. Now, if you did that, you would have purified water there at the refrigerator and right here at your sink, okay? Now, you technically won't have it at the sink, but what you would do is actually drill a hole and you would have a little water faucet to drink fresh water. Now, the other thing is that if you had a pot filler for your pasta, that is not connected to your RO system, so keep that in mind. The reason why is so that way if they did boil some water, right, you would kill it anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Now, when it comes to countertops, let me show you this real quick. People think countertops here is actually 2 inches. Technically, it's not 2 inches. It's about a ½ an inch, and what's underneath it, it's really plywood. And what they do is do a 45 cut. And on this face right here, this is a 1 inch face. Sometimes you can do a 2 inch face, or you can also do a waterfall. But as an example, let me just show you what it really looks like here. And this is a great prime example. As you can see, we have an inch quartz here. Then as you can see, we have the particle board or the MDF. So you got MDF or particle board. So this kind of shows you how it really looks. Now, another thing I want to talk about is orange peel texture. When you start doing skip trawl or that Santa Fe texture, it gets a little bit harder to sand down to make that smooth look. That's why a lot of builders like to do this, and they want to give this to you for free. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but just make sure to really take a look at it. Also, when it comes to painting your home on the interior, right, depending on the light and on the shade, you need to make sure that you completely walk around and look at the home on every single angle to make sure that the paint is completely painted. Because what happens is sometimes you may have a coat that's a little bit too thin, And later on, you could be sitting down and you can start to realize, maybe that just needs to be a little bit darker. And that's the situation that we're having right here. So that's something I wanted to point out. Let's talk about some cabinets. These are actually overlay cabinets, okay? Now on these full overlay cabinets with the shakers, if we take a look here, these are soft closing cabinets, okay? So you do have the option, if you wanted to do the soft closing cabinets, you can, or later on you can change out the mechanism yourself, right? And it would actually be a lot cheaper, but it just comes down to, do you want to deal with the headache or not? It's totally up to you. Now there's so many cabinet configurations that you can pick and choose from when it comes to designing your home. Now when it comes to kitchen, spend a lot of money on your kitchen, because this is like the selling feature of your home. This is going to be very important. So now we are here in the loft area. So here's the main wall. So this is where all your TV and components are going to hang. So right below here, we have what we call 1 and 2. The reason why we call this 1 and 2 is because we have a coax here and also your Cat 6, 1 and 2. The buyers on here, they opted out for this for a reason, for high-speed internet. So you do have an option to do 2 and 2, 1 and 1, or 1 and 2. So what we see right here is actually a second thermostat. We had one downstairs, which is the main thermostat downstairs. And typically on the main thermostat, those typically to be a little bit better than the second one. Now this is not your standard LED on this one, but this is a programmable thermostat. So this tells me that there's 2 zones. So what 2 zones is, it's basically you have one condenser, then you have these supply lines that run to every single room, and there's actually a damper in between. So what this means is, if you set your temperature to 75 downstairs and 78 upstairs, once the 75 temperature kicks downstairs and it meets its temperature, there's valves that close inside, which we call dampers, and they'll close up like this, forces all the other cold air to keep retaining on the upstairs until it meets its proper temperature. Now, the downfall with this is, let's just say you want upstairs to be 85 degrees and 65 degrees, because it's such a big split, you can't go hot to cold. If you go cold, it all has to be cold until it meets its temperature. So it's not like you have 2 air conditioning units. Typically on a 2-story, I do prefer 2 air conditioning units, so that way you do have that option. But keep in mind, during the wintertime, the heat rises. So what happens is it gets very hot upstairs, especially up here in Las Vegas. So that's where you're probably going to spend most of your money during the summer times. But then the winter time, your gas is a little bit higher, but then you spend less on electricity. And when it comes to your air conditioning unit, that's where you're going to spend most of your money when it comes to costs. However, this is where we talk about the condenser. The higher the SEER rating is, the more that you save. So that's important. That's something that you definitely want to check. In this room right here, we actually have a Cat 6, and you'll see that there's actually outlets about every 12 inches, or actually 12 feet, and you're required to have an outlet on every single wall. Now, on this one, there is a 3 rocker switch, but there's something that I want to show you that's very important. Right here, we actually have a transfer grill. So you have the option to do a transfer grill or a transfer duct. On this one right here, what this does, because heat rises, and when you have the heat hitting the ceiling, this pushes the hot heat out and it gets sucked into the return line for your air conditioning unit. Now, every single bedroom or every room, we will actually have a half hot. And what a half hot is this. You will always have a switch, and this one has been indicated with this yellow button that shows you right here. This outlet right here actually controls for that switch. So what happens is they put this upside down to indicate this, but you can plug in your lamp light for right here, so that way you can turn your switch on and off, and that's on every single room. So right above me right here, we actually have a supply line. This is the grill for the air conditioning unit. If you actually look inside, this shows you the can. So this ductwork right here is an 8-inch ductwork. Now, understand that the way that this is actually engineered, right, it's based upon square footage. So let's just say you have a condenser on the outside, which is your air conditioning unit. 1 ton covers 400 square feet. So if this home is 2,000 square feet, that means your condenser should be at least 5 ton, right? Because now it can cover the square footage. More the better. So for me, I would prefer to have maybe a 6 ton, right, to cover the airflow. Now, when it comes to airflow, depending on the position of the can, the size of the can too as well, sometimes you will see this air duct right in front of the window. They do that for a reason. If the sun is setting on the west side of the home and the sun is beating on this side, they're probably going to put the can on this side because they know that this is where all the heat is going to go, right? So they're trying to cool down the room as fast as possible. So what you see right here, this is actually the sink for one of the bedrooms here. And what we have right here is actually a T-trap where it comes down and it used back up. The reason why they do this is so that way when water comes all the way down here, right, the flow of water is always going to be steady right here. And the reason why you always want to have water in this T-trap is so that way you don't have the sewage smell to come back up here and you get that sewage smell inside your home. So that's the reason why every return line for the sewage, you will always have this, okay? Now right here, we actually have quarter turns. And I prefer the quarter turns versus the pull-in, pull-outs because you can literally damage the PEX on your supply line. So this is actually really good. All right, so in this master bedroom, what we do have is a supply line here for the air conditioning unit. Then we actually have a return line. This looks like a 12-inch return line. And on this return line is actually a ductwork that connects this to the outside of the room. So let me show you guys here. So all the hot air is gonna go through there. It's gonna get sucked through here, right? So this is where all your hot air is going now. As the hot air comes, it should get sucked all the way here where your filters are at, which this is where your furnace is going to be, where it sucks in all the hot heat. Then it goes through these coils that are cooled down. Then it blows through these supply lines that go into every single room. So that's how you get the cool air. And that's how you remove the hot air. Now the reason why this thermostat is here is because once you set your temperature at 72, this is going to be the hottest point or the hottest area of the home upstairs. Once it meets the temperature here, because all the hot air is coming through here, and you start getting the cool air to come through here, this is going to send a signal down to that condenser where we were at to shut off. So that's how the system works. Now when it comes to duct work here, okay, because we do have a transfer duct, you do have two options. This option right here, where it goes from one room to the other room, I prefer to have the transfer duct actually connected directly to the duct itself, right, inside the attic. So that way it's going directly into the AC unit. But this is still good versus a transfer grill. Now, did you notice on this room doesn't have a transfer grill, but the other ones do. And the reason why is because they probably ran the specs on the home, right, for each room. And this is how they planned this one out, right, when they ran the specs. So it just makes sense. All right, when it comes to the fiberglass tub and also for the fiberglass pan for the shower, especially on the shower, that's where you're probably going to spend most of your time taking a shower versus a bath. And you're going to get a lot of the grum and grime, especially on that pan right there. So when it comes to fiberglass products, what happens is there's actually a sealer that's above the fiberglass. The problem is that when you start etching it, what happens is you're actually really sanding it. And a lot of times, what I notice a lot of people will use the green pad. What is it called, Rudy?
Like scouring pad
or scotch or something. Yeah, exactly. So basically, the more that you take that, and especially using like Ajax and you're rubbing it in, basically all you're doing is you're actually sanding down this fiberglass. And it looks great, but the next time that you come and take a shower, you're putting more grime and gum back in to the surface that you just sand. And remember, when you're sanding stuff like this, you're creating grooves like this, and you're making it harder for yourself. So what I would highly recommend, again, is get with the manufacturer to see exactly what you can actually do to clean it, right? Because you don't want to damage that. This is where you're going to get a lot of this problems, is here on the shower pan, okay? As you can see, we have these little rivets here, right? The reason why this is here is so that way it grips your feet and you don't want to slip and slide and hit your head. Obviously, totally understandable. But this is where you're going to have most of your problems. And this is where you're going to be sanding it, right? And you don't want to be in that position because once you ruin this surface, you're going to have to get this thing reglazed. So right here, you actually see the supply line. This is a supply line that actually goes to the tank of your toilet. So every time you flush your toilet, just like that, The water goes down the sewage line. As you can see, it's starting to fill up. You can hear it. Here's the supply line. Now, right above here, okay, this is the screw that goes into your tank. Never screw this too tight. And the reason why is because of this. If you screw this thing too tight, you leave on vacation, you turn down your thermostat, let's just say 89 degrees because you're saving electricity, which is fine. The home is going to expand and contract. You can literally crack this. Next thing you know, you just flooded the second floor. How do I know? Because I've done that myself, and it was such a hassle. So keep that in mind. So you want to hand tighten this. However, it's probably better just to have a plumber do it, so that way they have all the liability.